Welcome to day 7 of our 12 days of Ec 10. So we've hit the sort of second half of our stretch, our final stretch, prepping for the exam. Today we're going to focus on firm behavior and try to unify chapters 13 through 16 that discuss, perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, cost curves, etc. Unify them all in like an easy to remember framework where you don't have to memorize a lot of stuff. You can just write this down and then derive the implications for the different types of market structures. So, to review, we had 4 market structures. We had perfect competition. Perfect competition. And it had a short run and a long run. We had monopoly. We had monopolistic competition. And then monopolistic competition had both a short and a long run. And we had oligopoly. We're not going to discuss oligopolies at all today, so let's X that one out. We're going to focus on these 5. Perfect competition, short and long run. Monopoly, monopolistic competition, short and long run. But the first thing to remember is monopolistic competition in the short run is identical to a monopoly. They have the exact same conditions, exact same diagram, exact same interpretation. A monopolistically competitive firm that isn't in the long run has a fixed number of competitors that we can all just kind of ignore. So it's essentially a monopoly in that it doesn't face any new entrants from competitors in that time period. So let's ignore monopoly for now and just focus on these 4. Perfect competition, short and long run. Monopolistic competition, short and long run. Keeping in mind that monopoly is basically just MC short run. These 4 market structures are given by a very simple table you can draw that gives you 4 possible combinations of conditions, and it defines the 4 types of firms. Specifically, we have all firms are either a price taker, so P equals MR, or a price maker, P is less than MR. So here is our first condition. They will either take one of these 2. And our second is that either P equals ATC or not. If P equals ATC, that's the zero profit condition, and it's because of free entry. So we know that if free entry is allowed, firms will enter the market and push prices down until you have P equal ATC and no profit. If there's no free entry because the time period is too short, or it's just banned in general, then you'll have not P equals ATC. I mean, you could have them equal by chance, but there's no rule that says they have to be equal. So now let's look at the combination of price taking here and zero profit. Which type of firm is that? Or which market structure? Well, it's got to be perfect competition. They're the only price takers. So both of these are perfect competition. And the one where P equals ATC because there's entry is the long run. In the short run, there is no entry or exit because firms can't enter and they can't exit. There's not enough time. And that means that this has got to be the short run. The price makers are all the varieties of monopolies. So monopolistic competition, monopoly, long run, and short run for monopolistic competition. But here we said we're going to ignore monopoly because that's the same thing as MC short run. And if we have zero profit, there's free entry. Well, that also has to be, again, long run for monopolistic competition, just like for perfect competition. Because if there's not enough time, we're in the short run, and there's not enough time for firms to enter, we can't have them pushing profit down to zero through entry. So this would be, this will be short run. So by asking ourselves, is it a price taker or a price maker? And then is there zero profit or not? Or is there free entry or not? Maybe is a better way to phrase it. We get 2 conditions. We either get P equals MR or P less than MR, or P and P equals ATC or not P equals ATC. And then we'll always have a third condition. The third condition is MC equals MR. This is true for all firms because all firms maximize profit. So all use this. So that gives us 3 conditions. One of these 2, and this one. And these define all 4 of our different types of firms we've studied, remembering that monopoly fits in here. It's the same thing as MC short run. All right. So now let's go through each of the 3 conditions you can have. The first is MR equals MC. I wrote it in gold up here because it is a version of the golden rule. The golden rule tells us that to maximize something, we just compare the marginal benefit to doing that thing to the marginal cost, and when they're equal, we know that we've maximized our objective. So our objective here is profit. The good thing you get towards more profit is revenue. So marginal benefit here will be the marginal revenue, hence MR. And then the bad thing, the cost, is what we just called cost. So our marginal cost we just call marginal cost. So if we wanted to find the maximized profit, the amount of profit we're going to make, really actually it's a variable profit. We see here that when MR is above MC, we're accumulating profit. So this is just like when we did marginal social cost and social benefits or consumer surplus. And we keep getting benefits until we get to the point where the two intersect. And then if we kept going, so we went out, here for instance, we'd have costs really high, revenue really low at the margin, so we'd be just losing money at the margin and we'd be pulling our profit down. We could do the same exercise here, getting more and more profit. This is all good. Then they intersect and we want to stop because we don't want to get to that point where we're paying a higher marginal cost than we're making in revenue. So the point to remember is the point where they intersect tells you the Q. So, it tells you this Q is the point where profit is maximized. Don't use the graph to calculate profit, though. We have an equation for that. But you can see the variable part of the profit, ignoring the fixed cost just by this green area. It usually won't be a triangle, though, or a simple shape to calculate, so don't try to do it. The second condition is the zero profit condition. It's where P equals ATC. And it results from free entry. So if firms can't enter, then even if there is a whole bunch of profit to be made by starting a business, you're not going to see it happen because it's illegal or it's banned or for some reason it can't be done. In the short run, by definition, we can't have free entry because firms just don't have the time to enter. So we're only going to see these conditions in long run, specifically perfect competition long run and monopolistic competition long run. Why is this called the zero profit condition? Well, when Q is not equal to 0, then profit equals P minus ATC times Q. By the way, why did I say when Q is not equal to 0 for this condition? It's because ATC is total cost divided by Q. If Q were equal to 0, then this would be like 5 divided by 0 or 10 divided by 0, and this would explode, right? So this equation is not valid when Q is 0, so you have to have Q equals 0. Well, if P equals ATC, then this part, P minus ATC, is 0, so it doesn't matter what Q is, we're going to get 0 times Q equals 0. Thus, zero profit, and the name zero profit condition. And now finally, this is probably the trickiest one that always kind of gets people. The left is the price taking condition. The right is the price making condition. P is less than MR. P equal to MR's price making or price taking. Let's see where those names come from. So we can shade in revenue when there's one unit being produced here on the left. It's 1 unit times this price gives us this revenue. And now the marginal revenue when we produce that second unit is going to be this, the extra revenue we get from that next unit. It has a width of 1, so 1 times a height of P, this price, right? This is the price, so times P, and that gives us P dollars in revenue. And since this is completely flat, remember that P equals MR, MR and D are flat, and the same line, we're always going to get an extra P dollars, whatever P is, for each marginal unit. And that's why we say P equals MR. They're not the same thing. We're not saying that P and MR are the same concept. We're saying that because the marginal revenue on each sale is P dollars, you sell off one burger for $1, so you get $1 in revenue. You sell the next burger for $1, and you get $1 in revenue, and so on. We say P equals MR, mathematically. We can contrast that with the case where D and MR are downward sloping. So here, we'd start out with this revenue on the first unit, this green area right here. And then we could produce one more unit, and I'll make that in blue. So we'll produce one more unit, and we'd get this revenue, right? So then we could shade that in. So here we get two things happen. We gain this blue area, because this area shaded blue, that's only shaded in blue, is kind of unique and new. So we get plus this blue area, and that has a height of p. So you get plus p. But then we have this, what I'm going to shade in red. This used to be revenue, but now we lost it, right? So that's terrible. So then we're losing some stuff, so minus this red stuff. Don't worry exactly about how big that red area is. Just know that it's some amount. So if we add p dollars and then we lose this red area, then we're going to get a total that's less than p, right? So that's why we say that p less than mr is our price making condition. When you're allowed to set the price, you face a trade-off between p and q. You get to set p, but if you want to raise q, you're going to have to lower that price to get more units sold. Whereas when you're a price taker, you don't get to set p. P is stuck for you. But then, because P is stuck, you don't have any trade-off between P and Q. You can just make Q bigger and bigger and sell more units for P dollars each. This slide, by the way, is worth spending about 10 minutes thinking about. Draw these diagrams out for yourself. Show yourself that you get less than P on the right and exactly P on the left, and hence the algebraic names for the conditions. So then finally, we could be asked about, what about like markup? What about excess capacity? Sometimes we're asked, is there a markup? Is there excess capacity? Shouldn't we memorize those? And the answer is no. They are not assumptions. The price taking, the free entry, the profit maximization, those are assumptions. Those you need to memorize because there's nothing about the model that says you have to profit maximize. It's an assumption to the model. There's nothing about the model that says you have to be a price taker. It's an assumption. On the other hand, there's no assumption about markup built into the model. Thus, there's nothing you need to memorize about markup. They are conclusions of the model that you can derive using what you know about the model. You can prove them easily using inequalities or graphs. Easily being the key word. Using one of these two. So you don't need to memorize them. So let's do some examples. Which market structures have markups? Well, we have 4 market structures, right? We have PC short run, PC long run, MC short run, that's also monopoly, and MC long run. All right. Well, you're going to have a markup by definition if P is greater than MC. So all of these guys have MC equal MR. And then some of them have P greater than MR, or sorry, less than MR. Oh, wait, yeah, P greater than MR, that was right. And some have P equal MR. Which ones have P equal MR? The price takers? Right, these two. And then which ones have P greater than MR? These two, right. When you combine this and this, it says MC equals MR equals P equals MR. So P and MC are equal. If you have this and this, they're equal. So for these two guys here, you have P equal MC. On the other hand, for these guys, you have this P greater than MR and this MC equals MR. So then you know that P is greater than MR equals MC, so thus P is greater than MC for these two guys. Very easy to prove, right? You just combine this and this to see that this is true. So now we can see that the 2 types of monopolistic competition have markups and perfect competition does not. Which have excess capacity? Remember, excess capacity is MC less than ATC, so you're still pulling that average total cost curve down. I'm going to leave this one as an exercise for you. Just write out the conditions that apply for each, and you'll show that, well, I'll give the answer away. Only monopolistic competition is guaranteed to have excess capacity. Long-run monopolistic competition. So now in summary, there's 4 types of firms we studied, ignoring oligopoly, which we used game theory for. We have either price maker or price taker, and either zero profit or not. So we pick one of these two, we get our 4 types. All of them use MC equals MR, so don't forget that, you'll need it. And don't memorize conditions like whether it's a markup, or I should say, don't memorize conclusions, like whether the firms mark up their prices, or whether they have excess capacity. Just use the equations or the diagrams to prove it. So just to fill out this table real quick, we have price making, zero profit, that's MCLR. This is zero profit, so we know it's LR, and it's a price maker, so we know it's PC. This is PC. It's not zero profit, so it's in the short run. And then this is short run, but we know it's a price maker, so it's monopoly or monopolistic competition in the short run. Thanks for watching. We're more than halfway through, so try to really pick up that studying on firm behavior, supply and demand, externalities, consumer choice. All that core material is what you really want to focus on now. Don't get sidetracked by questions that ask, what did Professor Mankiw say in the 3rd minute of his lecture on October 16th? That's not something you really expected to know, and if you miss that multiple choice question, you'll live. Whereas if you miss some easy questions about firms, you're really going to regret it. Thanks for watching.